Insight. The first ever series to analyze the unexplored aspects and issues of Carnatic music.
Dear Rasikas, I am very happy to be back for the third episode of our Insight series. In the first episode, we talked about the general aspects of music. In the second, about the different categories of music which are available all over the world. Today, we will look into the basic characteristics of Carnatic music and make an analytical study of it. If we look at Carnatic music, it is a perfect blend of melody, rhythm and lyrics. This you would have seen in many of the compositions where there is a lyrical material available to us, and the great Vagekaras have put them into respective ragas and thalas, giving us some very great compositions to cherish. Here I would also like to make a point about the way in which we render a composition. Just a comparison here to film music, where we see that there is an original music rendered by a particular singer, and when somebody does a performance of light music, we often try to estimate or try to evaluate how exactly that person is able to replicate the composition just like how it was sung in the main piece itself. Whereas when we look at Carnatic music compositions, we see that generally we have what is called as a Paalamtv. That is, there is a fixed way of rendering a composition, and if somebody tries to sing the same composition in different ways each time, it is definitely not appreciated by a true connoisseur of music. So there should be some rigidity in terms of the presentation of the composition, but nevertheless the composition is also in the same time not static. It is dynamic in the sense that artists do put in their own favorite sangatis here and there, their own embellishments, and make it a more beautiful piece to present according to their own imagination. Looking at a composition, I was mentioning just now about the fixed Paalamtv, and this applies mainly to compositions of the great Vagekaras like Tyagaraja, Dikshidhar, Shyama Sastri and so on, where you see that the composer has himself put the lyrics, the music as well as the rhythm for it. There are also many compositions available to us at the time of the pre-Trinity, where we do know that these great saints had sung these compositions, but the point is that we do not have the melody available to us. In this context, we can make a mention of great composers like Jayadevar, Narayana Tirthar, Annamacharya and so on, where we see that we have the lyrical material available to us. Probably in the Bhajana Sampradaya, you would see that these are sung still now in a typical way. That is the purpose for which it was intended to be composed. Whereas now, when the same composition has moved in to become a part of the Carnatic Kacheri, you see that there are so many modifications which have happened here also. In this context, it is very important to mention the Tevaram, which though many thousands of years ago it was composed, we still have the pun intact, the way it was rendered by the Oduvars earlier. The Tevaram has come down to us through the oral tradition and survived the test of time. Similarly, in Tirupugar, we see that we have the Chandams, which really mark the whole structure of the composition. Coming back to composers like Narayana Tirthar, who composed the Krishna Leela Tarangini, or Jayadeva's Ashtabadi, you would see that each artist has his own way of rendering, in the sense that the same Ashtabadi may be rendered in different ways by different artists. in different ragas as well. So there are different versions available for all these compositions due to the fact that we do not have the original melody available to us. And again, these compositions which I was mentioning were a part of the bhajana sampradaya, where it was sung in a very simple manner, as I mentioned earlier also. And but it's also very interesting that even in the bhajana sampradaya, now we have so many bhajana performers also trained in Carnatic music. So they themselves, what they do is to incorporate a lot of sangatis, brigas, gamakas and other things, and try to embellish and make it a polished kind of a form for presentation. And this also is probably due to the fact that while bhajana and the bhajana sampradaya was a part of the temple rituals earlier and part of the Vidhi bhajana which we were talking about earlier, now they have also become a professional kind of thing for presentation. So where we also see that the bhajana performers try to adhere strictly to the Shruti, the Talam, Ragam and other things, and try to make a very refined way of presenting the compositions. We will just look into one or two compositions to see what I am talking about. Let us take the example of Tarangam by Narayana Tirthar, Govardhana Giridhara, which is often sung popularly in the Darbari Kannada Raga. Now, here also it is very interesting to know that when the composition is set to a particular raga and made very popular, we find it very odd when somebody else renders it in some other raga. For example, let us listen to Govardhana Giridhara now. Govardhana Giridhara Govinda Gokula Bala Paramananda Govardhana Giridhara Govinda Gokula Bala Paramananda Govardhana Giridhara. The same thing applies to Ashtapadis, where you see that when they are sung in the bhajana tradition, it is a different way, whereas when it becomes a part of the concert, we try to embellish it with subtle sangatis and other kind of intricate aspects. Let us look into just two lines of a composition. Hari Riha Mugdha Vaduni Kare Hari Riha Mugdha Vaduni Kare Hari Riha Mugdha Vaduni Kare Vilasini Vilasita Keli Pare Hari Riha Mugdha Vaduni Kare Chandana Chachita Neelakale Bhara Chandana Chachita Neelakale Bhara Pita Vasana Vanabali Keli Chalal Bani Kundala Mandita Keli Chalal Bani Kundala Mandita Kanda Yoga Spita Shali Kanda Yoga Spita Shali Hari Riga Mugdha Vaduni Kare Vilasini Vilasati Keli Pare Hari Riga Mugdha Vaduni Kare Hari Hari Riha Mugdha Vaduni Kare. So that was in Sumane Saranjani. So like this, each artist may choose a ragam for presenting the Ashtapadi when it's a part of the concert. The next, I would like to give an example of a Bharatiyar composition where you see that I myself had learned this composition in 2 ragas. Obviously, also we have to see which raga suits that particular mood of the composition. That's also very, very important. I will be singing the composition Ethanai Kodi Inbam in 2 ragas, Desh and Ahir Bhairav. I leave it to you to choose and opt and let me know which is a better way of presenting that particular song, I mean in terms of the ragam. Let us see the composition. First in Desh. எத்தனை கோடி இல்பம் வைத்த எங்கள் இறைவா 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 எத்தனை கோடி இல்பம் வைத்த எங்கள் இறைவா 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 எத்தனை கோடி இல்பம் வைத்தாய். The same thing in Ahir Bhairav. எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய் எங்கள் இறைவா 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 எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய் எங்கள் இறைவா 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 எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய். சித்தினை சித்துடன் இணைத்தாயங்கே சேருமை பூதத்து வியனுலகமை தாய். அத்தனை உலகமும் வண்ண களஞ்சியம் ஆக பல பலனல் அழகுகள் சமைத்தாய். எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய் எங்கள் இறைவா 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 எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய். To me, both these compositions seem to offer a contrast of emotions in terms of the raga that was chosen for it. For example, எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய். In this, I felt I was looking at God with some kind of an awe. In the second, எத்தனை கோடி இன்பம் வைத்தாய். It's like submitting yourself and surrendering yourself completely to the God and thinking about the vastness of His contribution. So the two are totally different kind of emotions. So here, which is a better option is something I cannot really tell, because it depends on how we look at the composition, how we try to look at the lyrics and try to suitably figure out a ragam for this. Thus, there are many such examples which can be given here. You may immediately ask me, what about the Trinity? How is it that their compositions are retained in the same ragam and almost in the similar structure in which they composed? Well, we are very blessed in this aspect, in the sense that all the Trinity, that is Tyagaraja, Dikshadhar and Shama Shastri, had a great Shishya Parampara who learned the songs from them, and also they have been able to bring it out to us through several generations. Also, many of the songs have been notated for us in the Olachaudi, that is the manuscripts, and that's why we are able to get the structure of these compositions in almost a similar manner, in the sense that if Brova Bharama was in Bahudari, it is so till today also. If you have Marukelara in Jayantashri, it is still the same today also, because of the fact that we have notation and also some oral versions available for us passed on through traditions. But here again, we should also understand that compositions as such are also not very static. We talk about Kalpita Sangeetam and Manodharma Sangeetam, and in the theory we often say that the compositions are the Kalpita Sangeetam and Raga, Alapana, Neraval, Swaram are the Manodharma. But interestingly, if you look at this in a more analytical manner, we see that the compositions are also very dynamic in nature. And here I would like to make a mention of an interesting research work, a PhD thesis that was submitted by Amy Catlin, where she did an analytical study of the variability and the changes that happen in kritis. The content of this was that she took up about 6 people rendering the same kriti to find out what are the constant factors that remain a part of the composition and where do the variabilities and changes occur. So in that we see that every artist has his own way of presenting, that is, I mean, in a very intricate manner. If you are going to look at it, even the Sangati which we sing, according to each one's voice, it may fall in a different way. So you cannot say that, in fact, if Brindama sang it in a certain way, I can definitely not replicate it the same way, because I do not have a voice or a voice culture of her nature. So that's where you see that the same Sangati may fall very beautifully for her, whereas it may seem very ordinary when I perform. So the composition, though we say that it is a static thing, it is a permanent thing, there is also a lot of dynamism involved in the composition itself. So if there is dynamism, what is static in the composition is the core structure. For example, if you see the composition of Dikshadhar and Hemavati, Shri Kanti Bhati Shankara Yuvati Shri Kanti Mati Shankara Yuvati. As the next Sangati logically which could flow, and you would have also heard Shri Kanti Bhati Shankara Yuvati Shri Kanti Bhati Shankara Yuvati Shri Guru Goga Janani Vandeham Shri Kanti Bhati. Or a Shama Sastri composition, Himadri Sute Pahima Parade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima Parade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima Parade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima Varade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima Varade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima Varade Paradevate Himadri Sute Pahima, where you would see that the basic structure Himadri Sute Pahima Varade Paradevate. After that, I have sung 2 Sangatis. Somebody may even sing 3 Sangatis, but the point here is that the core structure, the core pattern of what is the main composition, that is never changed at all. And we also see in the case of Dikshidhar, where in the Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshani, most of the songs actually do not have any Sangatis, but then later on we see that many musicians keep on adding Sangatis. So that's where I was telling that the composition is also a very dynamic form. And on a lighter vein, of course, any gap that we get, we try to fill it with something, some kind of a briga, some kind of a gamaka, some kind of a sangati. And that is again because we want to show our virtuosity. So even in compositions, we see that artists try to show their virtuosity by adding a number of sangatis, adding a lot of intricate patterns in between if there is some gap. Of course, here I differ from them in the sense that the gap or the silence is not just a silence here, it is pregnant with meaning, I would say, in the sense that great Vagyakaras knew that silence is also as much very important as the melody when you compose a composition. So in many of the compositions you would see that there is a beautiful Vishranti, that is the small gaps. If you look at the, for example, Tyagaraja's Kriti, in all the Deshadi Talas, you would see that there is a beautiful gap in the Ardi. For example, Brova Bharama Ragurama Marugelara O Raghava Teliyale Rama Bhakti Margamunu. So that small pause is very important to enhance the next phrase. Like this, if you look at the Rendikale, there will be more of such kind of a Vishranti which happens. For example, if you look at a composition like Rama Katha Sudha Rasapana Mokara Makatha Sudha Rasapana Mokara Jamo Jesune. Like this, in many of the compositions we see how the subtle silences add a lot of musical value to the composition also. So coming back to the composition itself, as I was mentioning, many a times we have been lucky enough to get the composition in its original structure. In the post-Trinity period, things have developed much now, and we have notations in a very structured form. We have books which enable us to learn songs in a printed version. And for this, we could say that the compositions of Mysore Vasudevacharya, Patnam Subramaniar, Papanasham Shivan, all have been printed and given to us in the form of books. So many times we are able to get what was actually intended by the composer. In this episode, we saw how compositions play a pivotal role in our Carnatic music and how the composition itself undergoes a lot of changes from time to time, from performer to performer, and so on. If you have any doubts or questions pertaining to today's topic, I would only be too happy to answer you. Please don't hesitate to ask. You may WhatsApp or email to me. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.